1-800-526-7.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support. Rebuilding Together Minnesota provides critical home repairs and safety modifications at no cost to low-income homeowners, with a focus on supporting BIPOC communities across Minnesota, because everyone deserves a safe place to live. If repairs feel out of reach, help is available. Their work helps older adults stay independent, support families, and strengthens neighborhoods. Apply during the application window through March 31st. Visit rtmn.org and select Apply for Help, or call 651-776-4273. Rebuilding Together Minnesota, where neighbors help neighbors.
Ever wonder how far you could go with a bachelor's or master's degree? Metro State University is hosting 2 open house events in February. Learn about our bachelor's degree programs on February 24th. Explore master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and graduate certificates on February 26th. Find out about financial aid options and how to apply. Discover how Metro State can help you take the next step in your career. Sign up today at metrostate.edu/open house. You belong at Metro.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, snow with a low around 30, then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 38. Step into Forts at Children's Theater Company. It's a fort-building wonderland where theatrical elements, evolving light and soundscapes, and towering towers of cardboard boxes set the scene for shared creative play. Forts, now through April 5th at Children's Theater Company. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, today we got our friend Bob Blake from Red Lake. Had to say that once. Robert, the Solar Bear with the Solar News and Sports. We haven't seen Robert in a couple of weeks. He's always busy running around the country. We'll have to ask him what he's doing. But also, welcome as always, Bob. And I got to say, a year ago today, our relative Leonard Peltier was released, and it's an amazing one that the year flew fast so by, but at least he's been out this long, and prayers to him and his family, and great to see you as always, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, wow. Robert, since you started this show, you have been saying all the time to free Leonard Peltier. I mean, you said that literally on every show, at least I was on with you.
Uncle Curtis started that.
Oh, Uncle Curtis?
Yeah. Uncle Curtis started that.
Uncle Curtis started that. That is amazing. But Robert, I mean, you and Curtis doing that. I mean,
Mhm.
keeping the faith, and then, hey, special shout out to my cousin Holly Cook,
Oh,
who
yeah.
Holly Cook Macaro, who, was big time instrumental in getting him released. And so, I mean, God, you guys, I can't believe it.
She was part of the documentary too, and she, got me an interview with, Leonard Peltier when he was in Twin Cities, and yeah, I didn't know you guys were related, but I know all you Red Lakers are related somehow.
Well, so I have my dad's side, right?
Yeah,
And then I
yep.
have my mom's side. So it feels literally, Robert, like I'm related to everybody in Red Lake because there's my dad's side and my mom's side.
Yeah. Well, I know the feeling, and for me, I'm related to everybody in Ho Chunk, because there at one time, there was only 750 of us, and it's amazing to look at who I'm related to because they give you when you're enrolled, all the way down to the 1700s, the people that were in your bloodline, and geez, White Eagles for me, Raves, Decoras, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing, Robert. And like I said, I mean, what a wonderful, I mean, way, Robert, that y'all just just kept on championing that cause. I mean, and to actually see it to come to fruition. And I mean, I'm sorry, Robert, but I was one of those people too that I was like, man, are they ever gonna allow him to be free? You know what I mean? And so for that to happen is amazing. And so we're so happy to have him back in our in our community. And it looks like from a lot of the things that I see on Facebook, it looks like he's doing well.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing. But yeah, what do you say? I mean, a year went by now. So much has happened. So much is happening here in the Twin Cities, across the country right now.
Mm.
I mean, this, what can you really say, Robert? I was the other day just in a group with some people, and they were discussing, what if, Senator Klobuchar wins the governor's race, and how does
Mhm.
someone get appointed? Who would be appointed? To her position. So a lot of interesting conversations happening out here in the community.
Yeah, and, we've talked, this week along with, Dr. Stately Monday, about, Walz was really a moderate. If you remember, he was from, Rochester, which hadn't elected a Democrat in 50 years. And Klobuchar, if she becomes governor, she gets 68% of the vote. That means Republicans vote for her too. So she's very moderate. And one of the things I wanted to bring up, Bob, too, and get your take on that is that Dr. Stately asked me how I felt, and I said, well, the House and the Senate is what we have to worry about. They're the ones that make bills. The governor just signs them. So if we can get a progressive House and Senate in there, we can push whoever Democrat governor to signing bills that are really more progressive than probably what they're used to doing.
Yeah, and we saw what that looked like, Robert, when we passed 100% clean energy in the state, right?
Yeah.
And because we had the House, we had the Senate, and we also had the governorship, or I'm sorry, the Democrats did. And then when you look at what's the makeup of it now is literally razor thin, right? And so I think that that's something that we're going to have to consider in how how this session is, and what priorities are going to be happening up there at the Capitol this coming year. And I know that a lot of talk is too, Robert, of there's the fraud, talk that's happening. And then also, like, how do we deal with government agencies coming into our state and terrorizing our citizenry? Like,
Yeah.
these are things that a lot of states now around the country are now talking about because of what happened here in Minneapolis.
Exactly. And I know leaders and leaders like Robert Lilligren and Native American Community Development Institute are asking the same question to them. How have you dealt with it? What was the strategy? And, from George Floyd to Standing Rock to Line 3, the Native community is pretty well versed in these kind of things. I'm just happy and proud of the whole state of Minnesota standing up to ICE and the federal government. And I always like to say, welcome to the front lines.
And Robert, I in the must have been 2 or 3 weeks ago, I can't remember the exact time, but I was driving back from Minneapolis, and I couldn't be more proud of our fellow neighbors who were all standing on corners, and I literally saw peaceful observers, right, legal observers standing on each corner, ready to film, and with their bright vest on, and it was amazing. And I just want to say to the folks in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities, like, I love you guys, because that was amazing to see that. And imagine what these federal agents were seeing, that here they are trying to intimidate the people of the Twin Cities, and we're standing on corners ready to film them, and they have the guns and we have whistles and cell phones. And so
it's interesting too, Bob, and we got just a minute here and we can get deeper into this, but it's interesting too, because I believe a lot of their tactics are changed. Maybe they're not wearing the same kind of clothes. Their license plates are different and things like that. So they're still here. And they're sneakier now, but let's talk a little bit about that in the next segment. And again, I just want to give a shout out to our uncle, Leonard Peltier, nearly 50 years behind the bars, prison, longest political prisoner in the United States history, is out for a year, and prayers up to him. And we're here with Robert Blake, and we'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us. Rebuilding Together Minnesota provides critical home repairs and safety modifications at no cost to low-income homeowners, with a focus on supporting BIPOC communities across Minnesota, because everyone deserves a safe place to live. If repairs feel out of reach, help is available. Their work helps older adults stay independent, support families, and strengthens neighborhoods. Apply during the application window through March 31st. Visit rtmn.org and select Apply for Help, or call 651-776-4273. Rebuilding Together Minnesota, where neighbors help neighbors.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Ever wonder how far you could go with a bachelor's or master's degree? Metro State University is hosting 2 open house events in February. Learn about our bachelor's degree programs on February 24th, explore master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and graduate certificates on February 26th. Find out about financial aid options and how to apply. Discover how Metro State can help you take the next step in your career. Sign up today at metrostate.edu/open house. You belong at Metro.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Local artist Rosie Simas, Seneca Nation of Indians, Huron Clan, embodies Onondaga philosophies of peacemaking and relationality in new immersive installation. Visit Agejagwa Desnigowaweni. I hope it'll stir your mind and explore a space built for communal rest and contemplation. Seamus presents a performance of the same name this May. Learn more about the exhibition and performance at walkerart.org.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot, and we're here with Bob Blake from the Solar Bear with the Solar News, and we're discussing a couple things politically here. It'll be interesting how everything shakes out. We really are hoping for a blue tsunami, and we also feel like, I guess, we can push moderate Democrats more progressively once they get in, and that's my hope right now. It's hard for me to talk about Amy Klobuchar, and also in the same vein is Angie Craig, who I really believe is too moderate, but she's getting a big push from the National Democrats with all the money. I don't know if we call that limousine liberals, or I guess it's some kind of group where Peggy's only taking funds from people and no PAC money, and so hit Peggy up.
Yeah. The is it the corporate Democrats? Is that what we're is that
Yep.
Yeah, and I really do believe, Robert, that you see Bernie out making the rounds across the country, really garnering support for folks that are running their campaign like Peggy's doing. I think that that's the way to go about this right now. I think with considering everything that's happened, especially here in Minnesota, here in the Twin Cities, I don't think the way of these big donors is the right setting. Okay. So watching Peggy doing her campaign right now, I think she's going about it the right way. And I think she's going to be Minnesota's next U.S. Senator.
Yeah, I believe too. It's going to be a fight. But we got to keep strong. And I signed up this year again to be a delegate for, the caucusing. So, I'll be loud and proud, and I'll come in and say, Bob Blake told me to say this.
Exactly. Say Bob Blake, blame it on that guy. But I mean, let's be honest, we want folks to have a choice, I mean, that's just democracy 101. And so, not putting anything disparaging on anyone else that is running, but, I just can't see anyone beating Peggy, honestly. And so super excited for her. I mean, if the other option is the My Pillow guy, Robert,
we're in trouble.
We're in trouble, buddy. So I hope I hope we have a good someone that's going to take over here for Governor Walz, and I think Governor Walz did a good job. He's been he's been ran through the mud lately, and he's taken his hits, and I don't like the way that they attacked his family. I don't believe attacking his son and his daughter like that is appropriate. Please, everyone, leave the family out of this. You know what I mean? And let's focus in on the issues. And so this is tough, but and Robert, and if I could just change this to a national conversation too, there's that's being floated out there that a Harris AOC ticket. Wow, would that be something?
Yeah, it would be. And I don't know if this country is the way they ended up treating with Kamala this last election. And again, we had 7 million people that didn't vote, that voted in the 2020 election. So we need to get excited. And I don't know I'm all for that, but I don't know if mainstream people are into, there's still racism. There's still women can't do the job kind of attitude. And, we need to really win this next one, and I don't know if that's the answer, but I would be all for it like I have been. And I was just telling somebody yesterday, I think since 1980, I've voted Democrat every presidential election.
Well, I mean, Robert, wasn't it that like in 1982 or something, like Minnesota was the only one that didn't vote for Reagan?
84.
Or, there's like 49 states.
And that's when Walter Mondale was running.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
so that makes sense. But there was other Democrats along the way that we voted for too. I'd have to look this up, but there was one guy that he was doing really well, and then he put himself in a tank and he looked like a little boy, and people didn't vote for him. They voted for Bush, and Bush won instead.
Well, there's a direct correlation between education
Dukakis.
And there's a direct correlation, Robert, between education and a liberal, I guess you can say, mindset, right? And a progressive, or whatever you want to say on that. This goes back to the Lutherans here in the state of Minnesota, who invested heavily in education, and we have all these wonderful educational institutions, and all these individuals graduated from these colleges, and they decided to stay here in Minnesota because they loved it, and start families and start companies. And so now you have a very educated populace here in the state of Minnesota. So it doesn't surprise me that these individuals are voting for these progressive and liberal candidates who want to move this country forward. So very proud of Minnesota for doing that and for standing strong.
Well, and that's the thing too. We talk, and you and I know this, but people nationally talk about why Minnesota? Why are they going after Minnesota? Well, partially because our governor was running for vice president, but the other part is, we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But Minnesota does try and do it right, and does get a lot of things correct, and takes care of their people, and is super progressive. And that's why we had a target on our back by Trump. They talked about, and you mentioned it a little bit about all the fraud that's happening. There's fraud happening everywhere. It's just that the Republicans here that are running for governor and called up some guy, and he came here and videotaped and gave Trump a reason to come here. The guy went and videotaped at all these Somali businesses, and that's why they came here, is because right after that, Trump brought his troops in.
Yeah, and I'll just come out, and my whole point on that is just, I think it's just plain old racism. And the other thing about that, Robert, is, let's be honest. I mean, hey man, like you said, there is these programs, have been riddled with fraud for years. And when you look at the timeline of all of this, the Walz administration was pointing a finger at this. You know what I mean? Like, this wasn't something that just
this
wasn't like something that just happened. They were trying to deal with it. So, it's like everything that the Republicans do. They harp on something after it's been like out there, and then they try to make it their own, right? And that's exactly what happened.
Well, and two, who was the ringleader? A white woman.
Yeah, and that, I mean, and that right there's a whole, we could go down a rabbit hole on that and talk about, foundations and and how that happens, you know what I mean? Because I see it from that point of lens, right, Robert? Because I deal in that world, And I'm telling you, there are some things there that need to be addressed. But the point being to all this is that, listen, I mean, like you said, Robert, we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But remember, Minnesota, I mean, we have all these sports teams, and Robert, they have all their own stadiums. Okay. So let's put that in perspective right there. This is how much money.
People forget this, Robert, and sorry about interrupting you, but people forget this. The NFL is a nonprofit organization.
Right. And I'm telling you, Robert, we have in Minnesota have all these professional sports teams. Our market probably should not be able to support that. But because we have so much money flowing through this state, and you know what I mean? Like we have a very good economy here. It's looked at from the feds from Washington, D.C. Yeah, let's target these folks. You know what I mean? Let's try and make an example out of them. And here's the thing. They weren't able to, Minnesota stood strong and they didn't fall for the bait, and we didn't. And now Minnesota is probably going to win a Nobel Peace Prize, Robert.
Yeah. Minneapolis. Let's make I saw a shirt that said, and I might steal this, maybe not, or a shirt or hat that said, let's make United States Minneapolis. All right. Hey, we'll be right back after this short break. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Did you know that the Walker has a cinema that shows film almost every week? From artist talks, genre-defined performances, and world premieres to archival shorts and experimental soundscapes, the Walker Cinema explores all modes of global and local filmmaking. Get your first tickets for free. Visit walkerart.org/cinema to learn more. That's walkerart.org/cinema. See you at the movies.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis Air. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis Air dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis Air on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Ever wonder how far you could go with a bachelor's or master's degree? Metro State University is hosting 2 open house events in February. Learn about our bachelor's degree programs on February 24th, explore master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and graduate certificates on February 26th. Find out about financial aid options and how to apply. Discover how Metro State can help you take the next step in your career. Sign up today at metrostate.edu/open house. You belong at Metro.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Demeny from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org. Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together. Rebuilding Together Minnesota provides critical home repairs and safety modifications at no cost to low-income homeowners, with a focus on supporting BIPOC communities across Minnesota, because everyone deserves a safe place to live. If repairs feel out of reach, help is available. Their work helps older adults stay independent, support families, and strengthens neighborhoods. Apply during the application window through March 31st. Visit rtmn.org and select Apply for Help or call 651-776-4273. Rebuilding Together Minnesota, where neighbors help neighbors.
Thinking about college? Consider Minnesota Private Colleges. These 18 nonprofit institutions keep the focus on students with small classes and professors who will get to know you. You'll find students from all backgrounds, and no two colleges are alike. And when it comes to cost, they're more affordable than you think. Find the college that's right for you at mnprivatecolleges.org/possible. That's mnprivatecolleges.org/possible.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, snow with a low around 30, then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 38. There's something for everybody at Cafe Latte in St. Paul. From award-winning soup, salad, sandwiches, and desserts to treats from the bakery made fresh daily and a pizza and wine bar. Cafe Latte is located on the corner of Grand Avenue and Victoria Street. Check them out at cafelatte.com.
AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Oh, this is Dallas Goldtooth, and you're listening to the Native Roots Radio. Hoka, hicha, wecha.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. We are here with our friend Bob Blake, the Solar Bear with the Solar News and Sports. And I just want to jump in and do a quick sports update and get your feedback on that. But big shout out to the Seahawks not going to the White House as normal team, or in normal times, the winners of the World Series or NCAA playoffs or football go see the president, and they refused, and a big shout out to them.
Yeah, I think it was Nancy Allen, the owner of the Seahawks, who donates a lot of her money, Robert, to causes in the Seattle area, all up and down the West Coast is the way that I understand it. We're talking about homeless shelters, we're talking about arts programs for kids, the good stuff, right? And the other was the owner from the New England Patriots, Robert Kraft. His thing was, the razors, Schick razors, or you know what I mean. He was donating to the Orange Ones campaign. So, and so I think a lot of folks kind of looked at that and were like, I think we want the Seahawks to win. So, So kudos to them. And you're right, Robert. The Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl. And interesting enough, that the Seahawks logo is actually like taken from a Native American tribe out there.
Yeah. I just saw that too. I saw the colorful picture of the Seahawks head.
Yeah, the original drawing of it or picture of it. And I thought that was really interesting that, and they had some Native American players that were on the Seahawks team too.
Yeah.
So that was pretty exciting. So, yeah, congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks. Our old quarterback, Sam Darnold, won the Super Bowl. Big shout out to him and kudos to what he accomplished this year. Wish it would have been the Vikings, obviously. But, and of course, as we're talking about this, the Vikings let go the general manager, Kwesi Adolfo. So I think someone had to go, right?
Absolutely. And then if we want to get even deeper, our best pitcher is going to be out for a year for the Twins. So 74 wins looks pretty good now.
Amazing. I was like the first or second day of spring training. That's why I'm wearing the Twins hat, right? Because they're, the boys of summer are back and they're down there. So this is the first year of we have a new manager. Okay. So Rocco's gone. But this guy's coached before Minnesota and so, hopefully that, we'll see how the season goes. Hopefully Buxton can stay healthy. Royce Lewis, I'm hoping has a good season. Let's just keep our fingers crossed, Robert. We
Yeah.
go through
Well,
these ups and downs with the Minnesota Twins
hopefully this year you'll invite me to your suite. I know it's hard to get an invite. Hey, Bob, I was walking, I walk 10 to 15,000 steps a day just because I want to stay active. And I fell in front of the house, like about 3 houses away, and hurt my knee. But once my knee is back in shape, I think you and I should start going to the St. Paul Curling Club and get ready for the next Olympics, because I've been watching curling going, I remember this. This was like a drinking game when I was young. What's going on here? It's like bowling was.
Robert, count me in. I can go for a gold medal.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, though, Robert, because of that St. Paul Curling Club and because of the curling clubs here in the state of Minnesota, there's always Olympians from the state of Minnesota that are competing in these Olympics every year because they are such good curlers.
He's a 64-year-old dude or 56-year-old dude, the record oldest gold medalist was curling, and I think, shoot, I'll be 72. Let's do it.
Let's do it, Robert. I'm with you. We should actually put a team together, and it's really cool. They have competitions. They have their own little kind of. Interesting enough, came across these curlers at I think it was the Gnome over there on Selby Avenue.
Yeah, that's right.
Somehow I ended up buying drinks for these curlers, and I ended up learning about curling. And I thought to myself, "Wow, this is pretty cool," So
Yeah.
I'm all into it, man. I'm with you. We should do it.
Well, again, in the 70s, I remember going to the St. Paul Curling Club, and that's when I like to have a few cocktails before I sobered up in the 84. But it was like a bowling league. It was like drinks and sliding and the big rock and the brooms and friction and falling.
Yeah, it's like a bowling. It really is like a bowling league. But you know what, Robert? The Minnesota Timberwolves, they recently were in the hunt before the trade deadline to get the Greek Freak and Giannis from Milwaukee Bucks. I really feel like they did a really good trade here with Chicago and bringing in this kid to play point guard along with Anthony Edwards. I really see that as a good move for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I think that the Wolves. I think they still need one more piece to compete for the Eastern Conference, for the championship, to go to the NBA playoffs, because we always get to the end. We just can't seem to get past Oklahoma City. And of course they have Chet Holmgren, who grew up here in the Twin Cities and went to Minnehaha Academy.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Mhm.
Hey, I just gotta, politics and sports and entertainment are mixed, and that's just the way it is. But Ant won the MVP of the All-Star game, and one of my favorite presidents and his wife were at the NBA All-Star game and got a standing ovation without begging for it or him naming anything after the MVP trophy after himself or anything. But it really warmed my heart to see and miss Barack.
And I think that goes a lot further, Robert, into the fact that this was a U.S. president that to a casual observer like myself, who had a lot of respect for the office, who had a lot of respect for the American people. You know what I mean? And that's really unfortunately what I feel like we're really missing right now. And to be able to see him to stand up and respond the way he did, so to those what can you say, those unimaginable things that the president put out there on the internet, which is just unthinkable. What a jerk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
Well, they got to stay positive, but the other side of that is how many percentage of people are racist in this country. Is it 38% that are still backing him up? It's amazing that we're living in these times and people can say whatever they want and hide behind the internet and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and once again, I'll just go back, Robert, to the point of education. 1982. Going back again, we're talking about 1982 again, Robert, and and Ronald Reagan and him cutting education, dollars, and that continuing for the next, what do you call 45 years.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this is the direct result of it. We have a lot of individuals out here that are uneducated, and that's a sad thing because there is so much free education now more than available than ever because if you have access to internet, you have access to so many other things.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting, they seem to, and it's just human nature. Use that formula of I don't want to share. There's not enough. There's a limited amount of resources, and I can't share it. I need mine. And that isn't how we should be thinking. We should be thinking, how can we get these billionaires to pay taxes? Period.
Yes, there you go right there. Here's the other point, right? Like we need to be able to tax the billionaires, tax them for, I saw one statistic that you can pay $10,000 in Social Security taxes if you're making $200,000. Even if you're up to like at $1 million or something, you're still paying $10,000 in like Social Security taxes or something like that. And it was just ridiculous. We got it. And that's the thing, Robert, we got to get the money out of politics. We got to get the politicians that are allowing these individuals to, Citizens United has really warped our political system. Before that, what was it, 70 million or something. Now it's like $3 billion they're putting into getting these folks elected. So, this is, Citizens United is ruining our country, literally.
Well, and we haven't even talked about, I want to talk about next segment, what you've been up to, but also we haven't talked about the Trump Epstein files that Jimmy Kimmel has renamed and trademarked, calling it the Trump Epstein files. And I agree. There's, reports of Native Americans out of Minnesota that were victims of this too. And I'm just going, well, that makes perfect sense. But, get these, that's, I guess the only hope we have is these other countries are going to start, redacting the redactions and going after people. And we have a weak Department of Justice, which is really the Department of Revenge.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, Robert, I really think that Epstein was an agent for, other
Russia.
countries. Yep.
Well, yeah, we could talk about that. I can put my aluminum hats on, but, I saw a report that Trump was in Russia in 1977. It's way back then. And with all his problems with business and all the money that he's borrowed from Russian banks because the United States banks wouldn't borrow them, it all makes sense.
Yep.
Hey, we'll be right back. We're here with Robert Blake, the Solar Bear with the Solar News.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot. For Native relatives, healing is more than just sobriety. It's reclaiming Indigenous masculinity as a sacred, balanced force. Join Hunter Thundercloud for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. We explore how personal recovery uplifts our communities. It's time men step back into roles as mentors and spiritual leaders. Recovery is collective, and it starts with us. Tune in the first and third Wednesday of every month at 6 p.m. for Native Roots Radio presents Controlled Fire. Let's tend the fire together.
Thinking about college? Consider Minnesota Private Colleges. These 18 nonprofit institutions keep the focus on students with small classes and professors who will get to know you. You'll find students from all backgrounds, and no two colleges are alike. And when it comes to cost, they're more affordable than you think. Find the college that's right for you at mnprivatecolleges.org/possible. That's mnprivatecolleges.org/possible.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center, an art space that's more than the spoon and cherry. Galleries celebrate contemporary visual art, including indigenous artists like Edgar Heap of Birds from the Cheyenne and Arapaho nations, and Jim Demeny from the Ojibwe Nation. Additionally, film screens, cinema, and performances are shown on stage. And the Walker is free every Thursday night and free every day for citizens and members of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org.
Hi, it's Dr. Evan Adams, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. Hey, Victor, you better be listening.
In this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio. Got a new bumper there. We always love to howl, but Wendy's not on the show every day like she used to be, and so we got that recording and wanted to throw Dr. Evans in there too, our friend Thomas from Smoke Signals, who had the opportunity to meet. And so I want to give a quick shout out to the mothership AM 950 for being quickly popping that up there, because I just edited that like just in the beginning of the show. So thanks again. And that was fun. Hey, we're here with Robert, Bob Blake, Solar Bear with the Solar News. And man, we've been talking about a lot of stuff, but I want to get into what we usually talk about, and that's some solar news. And what do you got for us here? I know there's a lot of things happening out there, good and bad and indifferent.
Yeah, Robert, just real quickly, they just come out with the 2026 climate framework for the state of Minnesota. So that's out there, everybody. It's out there online, so check it out. I'll be posting it on my Facebook. But also, too, I wanted to bring up something that's happening down in Louisiana, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, and you're probably wondering, why does this have relevance to Minnesota, the Midwest, right, where our listeners are? I'll tell you why this has this is relevant.
Why it's relevant?
Yeah, right. Yep. And it's because they're doing a carbon capture project down there, and they're connecting it to ammonia. Blue ammonia is what they're calling it. Blue ammonia. Okay, remember this now. Blue ammonia, and essentially, these carbon capture, facilities are releasing this, right? And it's not being totally captured the way they're saying it. And what they're doing is they're getting these big tax breaks from Louisiana to build these facilities. So when it gets all said and done with, it's the taxpayer holding the bag. And in this space where they're doing it, there was a documentary that came out, Cancer Alley, where they had all of these kind of like different types of, places where folks were getting cancer because they were breathing in all of this stuff, right? And so the reason why I bring this up is because this is kind of the same playbook that data centers and you kind of see this kind of thing happening with the mining right now too. And so and we know these are big issues, especially here in Minnesota. And, Robert, I'm a kid of the 90s, right? I grew up watching Terminator, artificial intelligence, and there's blogs out there on Reddit from these individuals that are working in these artificial intelligence, spaces, saying they're putting in 12-hour days, 7 days a week. You know what I mean? I'm just letting everybody know, is this something that we have to look forward to? You know what I mean? And so my point being is maybe this is something that needs to be slowed. You know what I mean? The rollout of this. And I kind of wonder if we're rushing into this too fast, is where my mind is at. And then the other part about this, Robert, is when you see what's happening down here in Cancer Alley, and that corporate playbook is being used by these other big, like a data center or like mining, once again, the concentration of wealth is going only to a few, and it's not being spread out, into these communities. Are we, are for a few dollars, in the what do you call short term, are we selling out for the long term? So I just want our listeners to think about this. You can definitely go to Canary Media and read the article on this, but I think it has a lot of connections to what's really happening around the country with these data centers, with the mining projects. I think we need to be very suspicious, because it seems as though what's happening down in New Orleans, down in St. Charles, in that space, in that Cancer Alley area, is really turning up in other communities around the country, and also here in Minnesota.
Yeah, Egan put a year moratorium on any of these data centers, but it sounds like they have 2 of them that are being built now. And it takes all this water. AI takes all this water, and we only have so much water for the world. I know we have water here, but geez, 3 of the last 4 years we've had drought. I know there's companies coming up here trying to steal water out of the lakes and the fresh water. And so, when we were kids, or at least when I was kids, they were saying the big fight's not going to be oil, it's going to be over clean water. And we see a little of that happening right now. And we got talked into buying bottled water that comes out of the faucet because we can, I guess.
And the other thing is too, Robert, that, just like China are, over there in Asia, they had this show of these robots that were literally moving like human beings. Okay.
It scared me.
Now I want to ask everybody something. Okay. I want to ask everybody something. You see that, and you start thinking about artificial intelligence and AI and everything that is happening, right, Robert? With these data centers that are going to be powering all this. Is this something where we want to go, everybody? Because eventually those guys get self-aware, right? Just like in the Terminator movie. And they're like, hey, humans are a drag on our natural resources, our water and everything else. We need to get rid of them. So all I'm saying, Robert, is I think we need to be careful. We saw all those tech billionaires at the White House with, the orange one. Yeah. I don't like the fact of all these detention centers being built around the country from ICE. I'm just telling you all, we need to be aware of what's happening. We all need to pay attention right now. It's very, very important, because I think there's something happening here, Robert. Solar Bear doesn't have the answer right now, but I want everybody to understand that there's something rotten in Denmark.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things, being 64 years old, it's hard for me to really move and groove on this, but it's time for our Native community, and we've been talking about this for a good 100 years, is to go back to the old ways and learn how to grow our own food, our own healthy food. And, there's something to that right now, where if your car, if the satellites go down, your car won't run, the internet and all this, we have to be able to be self-sufficient and go back to our old ways. And I don't think we're ready, but I'm just throwing that out there too.
Right. And I think what's really important is that communities start looking into agrivoltaics, where they're growing their food underneath the solar panels, because it's called dual harvesting. And the reason why I say that is because I have a friend in Europe, Robert, that does renewable energy in Europe. And he called me up one day and he told me about a heat wave that went through Europe. and he said it damaged their crops. And so, that's going to be happening here, Robert. It's like 125 degrees down in Australia right now.
I know. That's crazy. Well, great conversation, Bob. And, you're running around the country speaking the truth. And I always liked what you had to say when we first started talking years ago about, the native communities have to band together and get our own poop in a group, whether it's solar or food or everything. So we have the power. And I'm just saying that to all our native leaders out there that listen to this show.
Absolutely, Robert. And Miigwech, and thank you for everything that you do. And that was the Solar Bear with the solar news and sports.
Thanks a lot, Bob. Hey, if you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance from Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on. It's sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote, vote, vote. We're still here. We are the seventh generation. Thanks, Bob. We'll see everyone tomorrow.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian